So I'm the producer and director of the film The Partisan Necropolis, which is about the Partisan Memorial Cemetery in Mostar. And it's been a project nearly 3 years in the making. And it's trying to tell the story of the Partisan Memorial Cemetery, the story of Bogdan Bogdanovic, the architect, but really it's also about the long-term protection of the site because it's being continually destroyed. So the film documents the history of it, documents the kind of struggles going on and the different opinions between Mostar. Some people are really for the Partisan Memorial Cemetery, some people are against it. So it's having these arguments, but it's also fundamentally looking at Bogdan's original vision for the cemetery. And also the fact that it's a cemetery. Some people even deny it's a cemetery. It's a national monument for Bosnia and Hercegovina, so it should be protected for the long term. So the whole point of the film really is to shine a new light of attention on that site. And we interviewed all the kind of key players and architects and historians. We've got the mayor, we've got the Catholic Church, all the different voices and experts, but the story is punctuated by 4 families going back to the cemetery to find the stone flower of their loved ones. And that was really important to me because I think that's been lost with the idea that these are all young people, all lives cut down short, and the stones are all smashed now. So it's a kind of journey of discovery to try and even see if we could find the stones, but to tell a little bit about the history and about those people, because every stone flower represents an individual. I visited the Partisan Memorial Cemetery in 2021, and that was the first time I had been there. I had seen stuff about it online. I was in Mostar and I thought, let's check this place out. Very hard to find, not signposted. I remember a guy in the front kind of stopping me saying, be careful in there, it's dangerous in there. And I'm like, there's no one there. But I spent 3 hours in that site and was completely blown away by it. And this was before all the stone flowers were destroyed. It was incredible. It was an incredible piece of land art. It was an incredible story. So right away, I was completely hooked on the space. I'd visited the old bridge. The old bridge is great, respect to the old bridge, but you cross it, you have an ice cream and the job's done, To me, the Partisan Memorial Cemetery was just way more impressive and important for me. Anyway, so I fell in love with that site and was blown away by it before it was destroyed. And then in June 2022, when I saw online that overnight all these stone flowers had been smashed, no one's seen or heard anything, and I thought, wow, that's a story. What's going on here? What's the real story? So it was that moment of it being destroyed that kind of jolted me to make this story and to try and get the funding to do it. I'm an outsider, so I'm from Glasgow, Scotland, so I could come in to this situation because I think it's a difficult story for someone local to tell because you're either for the Partisan Memorial, you're against it, or you just don't care. And there's enough problems in Bosnia and Herzegovina not to care about a cemetery, whatever. So I was able to ask really simple questions about why is this happening. I was able to question the mayor and say, I don't understand, if you take away all the politics and you take away all the division and you look at the simple facts of a cemetery that has the remains and the commemoration of young people, all young people from every ethnic background and religious background, who were killed, fighting for freedom for the city. And now that's been destroyed. So I was able to ask those kind of simple questions. And yeah, it's heartbreaking what's happening, and it's heartbreaking how people have their own histories now. It's denied it's a cemetery, and the facts and everything else and the evidence and the stories that I tell, point to that whole story. Of course it's a cemetery, so to deny it's a cemetery. So there was lots of things like that. But this isn't just a story for Mostar. It isn't just a story for Bosnia and Herzegovina. You know, what's happening in the Partizan Memorial Cemetery is revisionism with the far right. The far right's becoming more and more normalised now. We're saturated by the news of it, so it's easy to switch off now. It's easy just to then accept, you know, we've got a fascist US president, you know, we've got fascism everywhere. And places like the Partizan Memorial Cemetery were built as a reminder, not just to Mostar, but to everyone, you know. And that's really important to me. So, yeah, it's a Bosnian story, but it's a universal story here, you know. I first came here 1996, just after the war, and I studied back in Glasgow what happened in former Yugoslavia from politics and psychological perspective. That was my undergraduate, and I became obsessed with everything about this kind of region. And I came here with the idea to try and help, and for maybe 3 summers, 97, 98, 99, I worked in Dombielevi as a volunteer, the orphanage, and I set up a dark room, and I ran about teaching kids photography. And that was my introduction to Sarajevo. I don't want to feel like an outsider as well. I guess I still am an outsider, but I don't come here to tell big stories to make money. This film will cost me like everything else has, but I'm just fascinated by the region. I think there's so many lessons here for the rest of the world, and I'm continually drawn to Bosnia and Herzegovina.